We will go ahead and get started. Um, for those people online, Ted Kroll is monitoring the chat. The Zoom chat is disabled, so if you have questions or comments, you can put those in the Huba app. But I would like to first introduce my friend Patrick from Engine. He is going to just tell us a little bit about Engine before we get started.
Thank you, Whitney.
Yes. I thought that was going to work, but maybe there's not.
Let's try it. All right, good morning, everyone. How's everyone feeling on a Monday morning? First session, doing good? Really excited about this presentation as well, but just have a few words to say. Engine is proud to be a sponsor of this Career Pathways track. How many of you guys know about Engine or have heard of us? Just curious. Okay, we're really excited to be here, proud to be a sponsor. If you don't know what Engine is, we're a social impact organization, a public benefit corporation, which means we're very heavy on our mission in supporting newcomers, new Americans, English language learners in learning English. But what really differentiates Engine is that we're very focused on providing English industry-specific learning courses. And so just to give you like a quick vision of what Engine is, we're trying to bridge traditional ESL programs to workforce development programs. Typically, what we're hearing is that ESL students are stuck in traditional ESL programs. And so by giving them the English that they need to be able to transition into IET, apprenticeships, workplace-focused ESL programs, we're helping many language learners achieve certification programs or get into jobs. And the last thing that I want to talk about is that Engine is having a professional development series. This is a free 3-part professional development series that we're going to be doing on April 9th, 16th, and 23rd. We're going to be talking about how to use Engine in blended learning programs, and there are many going to be other educators out there, administrators who will be sharing their best practices. And so after this, you will be earning a 3 CEU credits for completing the professional development. And so with that, I'll pass it over back to the team to have their presentation ready. Thank you, Whitney.
Good morning. So my name is Mandy McDonald. I work for Iasca Regional Educational Service Agency with Whitney Detmer. She's my supervisor. I'm the Special Initiatives Coordinator, and I help to draft and implement our IET programs and other workforce initiatives like pre-apprenticeship and training. So we have Karen with us today. She's the Senior Director of Workforce Development at my side. We also have Tammy Brown, who works at Troy as the Continuing Education Supervisor. And of course, Whitney, our Director of Adult Ed at IRESA. So we're pretty informal here. If you have questions as we go along, please ask. I've got some handouts here. Karen made some handouts and I made some stuff too of sample IET plans in the format that Michigan uses. Okay, all right. They're there for you if you guys want to grab one on your way out, take a look at what it is we're doing. So what we're going to do today is we've got some polls that were run. Welcome, come on in, have a seat. We have the welcome poll, the IoT offerings poll, the partnerships poll, the challenges poll. Do you guys want to? It's all in the Whova app. So if you want to take those, or if you haven't taken them already, please take a look, fill them out for us. It helps give us data on what other people are doing and what's going on in other places. So writing IET plans can be a little challenging. Determining what works best for you is another thing that we're going to talk about today. Essentially, we're each going to talk about what we've implemented in our areas, in our programs, what's worked for us, and some challenges that we've had. Making those decisions about what IET plans to do can depend on what your students want, but they can also depend on what is available in your area for that training. So we're going to discuss that a little bit. And then we're going to also talk about how you can learn to create your own IET program and get ideas for that, and what you can use for staff training and professional development for yourself as you go on the journey. Questions? So the welcome poll. Do we want to talk about it at all? Or are we going to pull that up?
Different state.
Yay. Awesome. Nebraska. Hi, come on in. Lots of west, lots of south. Anybody else from north? I heard New Hampshire earlier. We're from North Michigan, right? Little cold. It was great to come down and see green leaves, not gonna lie. I was at the window in the car like, oh, it's so green. Can we just stay here, Whitney?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome question. Anybody else?
Community polls,
Yeah.
and some are in the actual.
Also, I didn't really understand who.
It's been a learning experience for us all. Hey, come on in. Great. What is IET? Who knows what IET stands for? Come on, we have an overachiever somewhere. Yeah, go ahead. Yay, ding, ding, ding. Good job. So integrated education and training combines education built around workforce training and workforce preparation. So you find a training program that you feel is something approachable for your students and yourself, and you take your education piece, which is adult literacy and numeracy, and you contextualize it to what's happening in the training program. You try to make that reading and that math support line up with what's happening in the occupational training as it progresses. And then on the other side of it, if you imagine, let me back up. If you imagine the workforce training as the backbone, the educational piece is like one side of the rib cage and the workforce preparation is the other. It wraps around to create and protect the heart and the intent and the spirit of the IET program. So, what? Oh, good. Make me cry, girls. Okay. So that said, it's comprehensive, it's involved, it can be intense. So to start off with writing a program, when you're considering something new in terms of training, you may want to start smaller. You know, something that's a 3, 4, 5, 6 week program to get your feet wet and to make it amenable for your students. In Michigan, the standard is such that the adult education portion should be as intense as the workforce training. So if you have a workforce training program that is 2 days a week, 8 hours a day, like our CNA classes, your adult education piece should be intensive to match that. So theoretically, if you're taking a 16-hour training, it's going to be a 32-hour training per week because they need to put that time in to get the practice with the reading and the math along with what they're doing as the workforce part. And then on top of that, you have maybe another 40 to 50% in the workforce preparation. So what we do for our workforce preparation piece is we help our students build a portfolio with which they can go to different employers and use their cover letter, their resume, their references, the certificate that they've earned, all in one-stop shopping to apply for jobs with. Any questions about that? No, when you grab a plan, it outlines on the plan what it is we do. And you can, for us in Michigan, we can design it how we want it to be. You can use a curriculum. You can use a plan or a training or whatever that you already have access to. We've kind of pieced ours together. You bet. There are certain courses in we use Edmentum. Anybody familiar? Edmentum? Okay, so we use Edmentum to dovetail along with what's going on in occupational training, and there are career skills courses in Edmentum. So I pull some of those and use those classes to help orient students. But once again, the whole idea behind IET is that you contextualize it. So I pull stuff online about nurse assistant training or applying to be a nurse aide, what it's like to build that particular resume specific to that job, tailored to that goal. And depending on our students and what's going on in Michigan, I try to pull stuff that is pertinent to that as well. So it's going to be different. Every IET plan is going to have its own special touch because you really want to tailor it to your population, as well as what you have access to that's financially feasible for your particular school district.
IET in the room already.
Yay, that's fantastic.
This is their first introduction. They don't know really anything about it. And the rest of you are at the point where you've learned about it and you're ready to get started. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Tammy. That clarifies things so so with that said, I'm going to breeze through these first slides. We're going to zip through and get
So
to good
Mandy,
stuff.
you had a question in chat. It said, is there a more comprehensive list of workforce preparation components anywhere? Or is it essentially just soft skills
That's
development?
a great question. Yes, everyone, all the employers that I've talked to and, hearing in different discussions through our state organization, as well as this last year being involved with COABE, is everyone wants soft skills. So yes, soft skills. But if you go online to links, LINCS, and you use ultimately, there's something called the IET Toolkit that's nationally published, and we'll hopefully find a link for you to that somewhere. Okay.
They took links down, the government just took it down.
Right. So
I think still works to links.
try the link that we're giving you. But if you have further questions, you're going to have my email at the end, and I have everything downloaded because I'm a nerd and I can email it to you. So don't fear. Good question. Thank you. So purpose of IET programs, you align your adult education components with your content standards for your state. It's part of a career pathway, and it needs to lead to an industry recognized credential. So there's that phrase, right? They have to have a certificate, something coming out the door. So they have a certificate or a certification. They are involved in an apprenticeship or a pre-apprenticeship. In Michigan, we're still working out what that looks like because not many of us are doing that yet. So we're figuring that out. And then the license or whatever the certification is has to be recognized by your state or federal government.
Sorry. Did you go through any sort of a vetting process, or does the state that said, here's your listing of IRCs that we consider to be acceptable?
That's a great question too. Some IETs are posted, but when you're writing your program, at least in Michigan for us, we go through an extensive state process for approval. We submit it to the state and there's dialogue.
Yeah, state of Michigan doesn't like to provide lists of this is all you can do. They don't want to keep you in a box, but they also make it difficult because there's always all these gray areas and then there's loopholes with what you pick, whether they're all accepted or not. Usually if it's an industry recognized credential by the federal, if not within Michigan, they'll accept it. It's more difficult with our state to just get the trainings approved with the education piece around it. So they're pretty flexible as long as they know it's going to go to something that the workforce, your local area needs. They're usually pretty good about it in Michigan, at least.
In Minnesota, we're the same way. Our state team, we have to fill out a form, they have to approve it.
Yeah.
So it's the same in our.
Anybody else? Awesome. Okay, so there's three components of IET that we talked about already. We've got adult ed, we have workforce training, and we have workforce prep. The big thing for trying to make it all work together is it's all combined in theory by this thing called the single set of learning objectives, which essentially is a set of objectives that combine it all. But like I said, I'm going to fly through this because we want you guys to be able to discuss good stuff. So here is kind of an answer to what we talked about before, the link to the IET toolkit. And you also, at least in Michigan, they're very diligent about making sure that what we're doing lines up with the college and career readiness standards. And if you look at Plan 2 for the nurse aid for IRESA, I reference some of those and I just stick it right in there just to make it really clear what standards we're trying to meet. It's a great exercise in knowing what your policies are. Let's just put it that way. And then if you're also doing it to offer to GED students, they want to see the performance level indicators. So there's links here to that as well for your use. Digging into the IET toolkit is very informative, but it's a lot, can be very overwhelming. Lean on your Michigan Works people, and that's our American Job Center. If you are working closely with your workforce development program, lean on them to know what jobs are needed in your area so you know what training to look for and what to write for. That's how we've been orienting ours. Student surveys are really tough for us. Our geographic expanse is over 6,000 square miles. So we have to be creative and we lean on them heavily. Are there any questions about this slide? I'm going to zip forward so we can get to discussion. Yeah, nice. Okay. All right. So Michigan IET plans, we put some out here for you. There's Plan 1 that discusses the theory and what it is you're trying to do with your plan and what the requirements are to get into that particular training. Plan 2 outlines the syllabus. You're welcome to look at these. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to email me. I'll be happy to send out. And if you have stuff you want to share, please send to me. It gives me good ideas too. And I'm sure these ladies agree. Michigan links for the IET plans are right here for you. And then the poll. Yeah. How many people use a plan like ours? Yeah.
States are you from? Just curious.
Yeah.
I'm from the state of Kentucky and I work in our state office, and when we were developing our planning tool, spoke with a lot of other states because at first we had the doors open and then we had to quickly corral them in because we weren't doing IETs before they were approved for an MSG. And then when they were, it was like wide open. So we had to kind of gatekeep some of the programs. So we developed a planning tool where we have them put in their funding, who their partner is, what those SSLOs are, a syllabus for the instructor, and then one for the student. We have curriculum. We do the common college and career readiness standards, whatever the workforce training, and then what career pathway it's part of, using the national career clusters that we have.
Yep.
Well, it's just front and back, but with appendices. So we were trying to put it all in one, but then we found that the submissions always had, this is our extra syllabus. And then we have like an SSLO template that we created to have the 3 standards, and then write out your 3 standards. What is the SSLO that goes with them? So we have adjusted it every year as we've learned things. But now we've tried to tighten it up and create as many templates as possible so it's consistent. And then we first allowed every region in our state to submit theirs, and then found what are the common ones that are happening. We kind of created a statewide template then that they have available that they can download and kind of plug and play
Sure.
as a base for whatever program. Because there are, unique differences to Western Kentucky, to Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
So they can kind of tailor it, but they have the foundation that's already been approved by the state So it takes less time for the back and forth and making sure it's up to rigor and things like that.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
There were some ladies over there.
I don't.
Hi, in the state of Georgia, we have a full plan that you have to follow that identifies the particular program, your research behind how does that fit your particular area.
Oh.
Also, you write in slows on both sides, how that's going to meet with the standard that is needed there in your industry. So yeah, we have to do that. And it's several pages of it that has to be filled out.
I think my last IET plan was something like 16 pages for the syllabus. That's a lot. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Is your plan for a group, like a cohort of students, or is it for individual students?
It's another great question. So it really depends on the delivery of your program. We do have some asynchronous that can concurrently enroll. But then we also have others that are in cohorts. So it just depends on that particular training and how it's offered. Have any insight on that, ladies? Do you want to add anything?
Virtual. Sorry. Ours are based on cohorts, so we have 7 different trainings. And so each IET plan is for each of the 7 trainings. Within there, then you have to break it down by their levels. So we have them by ESL, ABE, and ASE within the plan. You have like a part 1 and a part 2, and then you have to do 3 different ones based on their level. So it gets very specific within each of the trainings.
Hi, I guess she clarified in my mind, like the plan is for the organization. Like this is how we're going to do this IET. And then you break it down to the student level and then you break it down for the teacher level. Okay, that makes, I don't know why it was.
It's the umbrella. But it needs to be approved by the state. See, not in Texas. Yes. I'm moving here. We fill out.
You're going to get more people here.
Sorry, we fill out a survey and send
Okay.
it to Texas Workforce Commission, who's our managing organization for the state. And, but it does not have those types of questions on it.
So Texas really wants to grow their workforce, it sounds like.
Well, and I think hearing that her Texas adult ed that you're working with is through the workforce might be the difference. In Michigan, ours is through an adult ed office that's tied very closely to the K-12 Michigan Department of Education. So it may make a difference on where your adult eds are run through, what they're going to focus on. I'm sure yours is through workforce. They're going to be focused on workforce. Now, we are part of LEO, which is the Labor and Economic Opportunities Workforce, but our adult ed office seems to be more focused on the education side of it than the workforce side of it.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to take it on to Karen, who's going to talk about her program in Detroit. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Good morning. So how many of you, and I'm just going to do a show of hands, are in an urban setting? Oh, maybe maybe less than a quarter, but good. So I am from Detroit, Michigan. Let me see if I can go to the next slide. Just hit enter. Oh, I thought we had to do this thing here. Okay. So my organization is Southwest Economic Solutions, but now we merged with another organization. So now we're called My Side. And it has nothing to do with any type of Michigan grant, because everyone says, oh, My Side, are you a grant? No, My Side. And our component of My Side is My Wealth, because we work with education and economics. So we're located in Southwest Detroit, right in Mexican Town. My office, there's Canada, where literacy rates are real prevalent in the area just because we have a high Latino population, high immigrants, low income residents with limited English proficiency. We have a lot of barriers. You know, I know that you're going to hear barriers that we have in suburbs. You're going to hear barriers that we have in rural areas, and we have barriers being in the city. And I'm sure that A lot of them are shared because we always talk about transportation, we talk about childcare. But we'll kind of go over the differences too. We have over 633, I think, but I just put 630,000 residents that live in Detroit. It's declining, but we're still one of the top quarter cities in the United States. We're actually seeing a boom of people that are moving back into Detroit, but it's really changed the demographics. I think it's more gentrified than what it used to be. A lot of the residents, we figured there was 41% of the residents that live in Southwest Detroit. They lack a high school diploma or equivalency. And we all share the same barriers. Transportation. You think that even though we're in the city and we have buses, that's all we have are buses. The bus system is not really good. We have students that take about 45 minutes or so just to get from one end of the 20 minutes, 20 miles or whatever, from one end of the city to the other. And a lot of the students won't do it because they have to do transfers. It takes a long time. In the winter, there's delays. And so in the city, even though it's not like a rural area, transportation is a major, major barrier. The cost of car insurance in Detroit is incredible. And so students or even people that live in the city, they don't even have insurance because they can't afford it. And so we have a lot of that. Food scarcity, there's always a problem. We have a ton of, gleaners, and we have a lot of food drives and food pantries. Housing, it's very expensive to live in housing. There's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of people that are not able to afford a home. And there's a wait list for a lot of the homes that you can buy that might be in a reduced cost. Childcare, there's, while we have a lot of Head Start programs and Great Start programs, there's still scarcity of affordable childcare. And of course, you think in the city, but there's still that internet access. There's always that. I think when pre-COVID, when it hit, we found out that only less than 30% of the population had technology. And then we found that even less had that availability with the bandwidth. So it was an eye-opener. During COVID, the school districts and the city passed out huge amounts of laptops so that every child would have one and every family would have access to it. But there's still a lot of, they don't have a lot of access to internet, and then just being able to maintain the cost of having internet. So with ours, we work together with different organizations, and so we have a theory of change, which is really what we kind of go by. We do community building. How do we make the neighborhoods feel secure? Health, housing, education, income, and transportation. So we kind of use that. So everything that we do aligns with our mission and vision of our programs and when we create the IET. So a little bit about our program too. So I am the senior director, and I oversee over 40 grants. So we work with the Detroit Regional Project, which is part of the Chamber, DESC, which is part of our Michigan Works American Job Centers, and then of course LEO, the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities. So every new business that comes to Detroit, we kind of have opportunity to meet with them and to talk with them and to figure out, well, what is their demands. This is really critical when we're planning an IET or we're looking at future jobs, because you need to know who's coming in, because what really happens is that a business will come in, like we have one that's coming in not very far from us, and we knew they were coming in. So we were talking to them like, what do we do? How can we, create some programs? How can we help you? And then they kind of disappeared, and then now they're here and they said, well, we need 270 people. And we're like, okay, knowing our population and knowing what you need, that's a lot. And in that short span, I don't know if we can train that many people, or to have them at least be able to do what you need to do. So we're always meeting new partners. We're trying to align our mission and vision and enhance what we do. And also what's unique about our program too is that, and it's similar to what the IET model is that we provide a holistic approach to training. So anyone that comes into our training, they have a case manager, and they meet with a career path navigator to understand, is this the job training you want to do? I really want to be, I want to be a truck driver because this is great because I can work independently and you can make great money, but I hate driving. Or, so you really, we have a lot of people in construction, and then we go through this 2-week kind of orientation, and they find out, well, they don't want to work outside and it's cold. Okay, well, maybe that's not, we'll have to figure out something else for you. So once they register with us, they automatically register with our American Job Centers too, because if you do that, if they're going in that employment track, or unless the trainer is in the system that they can pay for the training, they get all the supportive services. So they can get gas cards, they can get all the tools and the equipment that they need for the training. We do financial education, so all the students get that. A lot of them don't have bank accounts. You know, a lot of them, we get stipends, so you know, what are you gonna do with that money? So we kind of just try to set them off and help them understand long-term and budgeting. We also have them register at our Title II program, so they also get that, and they have to, because that's the education component, the ESL or the ABE or the high school equivalency. And then we do work readiness, because that's part of the component. Now, some of our programs, we do customer service. And so it's actually through IBTA. And so it is a credential that they earn that gives them that customer service certification, which is almost similar to work readiness, but it helps them because, especially if you're a truck driver or you work in construction and you have to meet with clients, then you know how to talk to them and you know how to communicate, not only with your coworkers. And so it gives them that added for us in MSG because it's an additional credential. And then obviously the job training. So we started IET model back in 2020 when we combined our learning lab, our career center, and our workforce training. So we have HVAC, electric, plumbing, we do CDL, we have a pre-apprenticeship with NCCER, high-low forklift, the customer service, and we also has HAZWOPER, which is part of the EPA grant. So it's just more of the learning to deal with chemicals or lead or asbestos. So we've had 2,088 have enrolled in our learning lab in our school, 396 registered in our trainings. We have about an 82% completion rate and an 89% of those have gained employment. We have to do that. It's kind of part of our, so that's our goal is that 80% at least for our completion.
Hi, my question is, your NCCER, is it just the core credential?
Correct.
Okay.
And I do have a session later today, not that I'm going to plug it, but I do go over the NCCER and how we contextualize it with the GED and college career readiness. So, yeah.
When is that?
Yeah, and I think we have the handouts. I think it's for NCCER. I didn't do the CDL. I don't know if I passed out the CDL one or the NCCER.
Well, I did a pre-apprenticeship for electrical with NCCER.
Did you like it?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's great. It's a
Mhm.
great program. How many of you are familiar with NCCER, and how many of you got the grant through COAB to start an NCCER? Oh. Yes, 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 yes. Keep your eyes open because COAB and NCCER have now a partnership. And so they did a first round of grants. for
Karen,
that.
you had a question of what was the name of the customer service training certificate?
It's International Business Technology Association, IBTA is what it is. And it's $120. You get the book and then it gives you the test. So you finish the book and then you take the test and then you get that certification. And it is approved. It's a credential, a DOL approved. And so I think it's IBTA, which is the International Business Technology Association. And so if you Google IBTA credential or business, it'll pop up and you can see that. And it's really super easy. You can tailor it. It takes about 60, we do about 60 hours for that. And then they have to take a test and it's online. And then when they pass, they get that credential. And it's easy. The book is, you can go teach right out of the book. And it's great because it goes over just communication, teamwork, how to talk to people. And it's helpful because a lot of our participants, if they're going into CDL or they're going into construction, all that, they want to do their own business. You know, that's kind of their end all. You know, they want that. So we help them do an LLC. We also, with the financial education, we talk the pros and cons of like, you know, maybe you should, you know, like truck driving, you should drive for a while because it's very, very expensive to own your own truck and then to start your own business. And so we kind of go over that. But having that really helps them, in my opinion, just know how to talk to clients and customers as well as your coworkers or your bosses.
Yes, ma'am. How long is that class or program where they do like for how many weeks? Or
So I think that it all varies. So like our CDL, because we have an IET, it kind of, you know, what would have been a shorter program kind of puts it to about 14, 16 weeks, depending on how well they pass the test. The most important part of the CDL is that they have to pass the tip test in order to even get behind the wheel. And so that takes a long time. And the students, it takes a lot of reading, a little bit of math in there. And so once they pass it and they get behind the wheel, then they'll go through more of the instruction, but then they get out in the field and then it's being able to pass a test. And I watched them, and there is no way, because I have a hard time parallel parking, that I can take that big rig and back it up so you don't knock over that little cone. Oh my goodness, I was like, there's no way. I would love to be a truck driver, but there's no way I could do it. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it in the city, no. Yeah. Oh, customer service, it varies. I think it's about 60 hours of instruction, and we embed it into the program.
Was the HAZWOPER kind of a summative of wrapped around OSHA 10, OSHA 30 as part of that, or confined space?
It's not part of OSHA 30. That's a good question. So we do OSHA 30 for all of our programs if they have to get into a house or they have to do construction. And HAZWOPER is more of, and we do it, attach it with our truck driving as well as our construction, because it's more of how do you handle that hazardous waste material. So they're in the suits. You know, they learn all that, and it's just a bonus if they're doing truck driving, because then they can drive that hazardous waste material. And then for home, if they're doing construction, they can do lead and they can do asbestos removal. So it's not that much adding. It's probably about 30 hours more. And then apprenticeships. So we're able to become an accredited site for NCCER. We use it with our youth build. We also have a program that we provide training for those that are court appointed. So we work a lot with those that are on probation or court appointed. Our success is really our partnerships. And when we use that IET models, you know, having that with the American Job Centers, we're fortunate that we run an American Job Center. And so everybody automatically gets registered them, and then they can help with all those supportive services. So when our students are in our NCCER, they go there and they get not only their gas cards if they have a car, but they also can get their hard hats, their goggles, their boots, everything. They'll pay for it. We'll work with a lot of the ECOs, EDOs that should be in the talent pipeline management, kind of looking at, again, with the chambers and the Detroit Regional Project, what are the businesses that are coming in? So that kind of defines what we're going to do with the IET and what we see a demand for. We have a really great alliance, and we work with a lot of the community-based organizations. You have to in Detroit. There's just a lot. And also, there's just so many. So, you know, even in an urban setting, we've got all these students. You're still, there's still a lot of people that are doing the same thing. And so it's very competitive.
Karen, someone online wanted to know what NCCER stands for.
So it's a National Center of Construction and Research, Excellence in Research.
Say that one more time. She's
You
going to
think
kill me tonight.
for so long. National Center of Construction, Excellence in Research. Yes,
Thank you.
NCCR. Yes, yeah. I always, we work a lot with training providers. You can't do it by yourself. You know, you can't be silent. You can't think you can do it all. I think in adult ed, we always do that. Oh, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. You really need to meet with your training partners. I have awesome, awesome training partners, and they will come to me and they will say, you know, I'm going to do a CDL. We've got a lot of people that are not English speakers. Can we work together and do this? Hey, we want to do something with welding. What do you think? You know, can you work with us? We have a great group that we work with that does the HVAC and plumbing, and they always are coming to us, or we might have a grant and we might go to them and say, hey, you know, we want to add this. Are you interested in working with us? Always, the training providers are just really, really great. And then of course the colleges. And so we braid funds. I think that's really critical. Everyone always talks about how do you do this IET program? You know, the American Job Centers, because if those trainers are in there and they're a provider, then they pay for the training. And all you're doing is just you're helping them because you're recruiting students for them. And then you're helping them succeed in making sure that they graduate. We have a lot of government. Like I said, I have over 40 grants. So we work a lot with government and federal grants and a lot of foundation grants. So that helps us. All right. Thank you. Is there any other questions?
All right, first thing I have to do is get this clicked off up here because it's driving me nuts. Okay. And then you just use the arrow. Change it. Okay. Hi, Tammy Brown with Troy. I am our example for suburban settings. How many of you are in a suburban setting? Just a couple. Different than that, how many of you have large ESL populations? Yay, okay, so I'm hitting that group too because our suburban setting has a large ESL population. So I hit most of the group. I feel better. Okay. So this is a demographic just of our setting in Troy in Michigan in Oakland County. I don't know if any of you know Michigan that well. Oakland County is a pretty wealthy county in most parts, but there are their pockets and they are a very diverse county. So we have, last year we served 620 adults in ESL, ABE, high school completion, equivalency, secondary education, and IET. We serve more than just Oakland County. We also have several that come from Macomb, our neighbor, like Sterling Heights area. We get quite a few from there. 62% of our program is ESL. And really it's even higher than that because some of our ESL test out and then we have like an English Plus program for them to continue their education. So it's really even higher than 62% that are ESL in our population. Many have degrees from other countries, so they're a perfect fit for this because they're working at like the local gas store or Meijer when they're a dentist or a nurse. So we try to get them back on the right track. And 65% of them are probably spousal visas. So they came with their spouse who's working full time and now they have children in school and they want to get back on a career track. So we're very fortunate that we do have both sets. We have the very highly educated, but then we also have the immigrants coming in from like Ukraine and Syria and areas that have not even hardly literate in their own language. So we really have that whole spectrum. But for our IET, this other group fits very well because you have to reach a certain level to even be eligible for IET in our program. And then this year we have 77 IET students. Last year we had 50. We were hoping to continue to grow, but now with some of the funding cuts coming, I think we're going to have to slide back because a lot of that is through braided funding I'm going to talk about later. So we had it all together. We were getting going and now we're kind of nervous about what's going to happen next. Yeah. So these are our trainings. We do Child Development Associate, Java, SHROOM, which is Human Resource Certification, a Pharmacy Tech, Clinical Medical Assistant. I'm not saying that more than once. Dental Assistant and Paralegal. And below that, I listed some of the places that they've gotten hired and some of our partners. Some of these are specific to Michigan, but they might give you ideas of employers to look for in your areas. CVS. But then we have someone who's at the Village Pharmacy and Compounding, which is a local place that does the private pharmacy, the specialized medical. You may have that in your area. I'm sure you do. With the clinical medical, Corewell Health, it used to be Beaumont, is huge in our area. Wherever your local hospitals are great to tie in because they're always looking for employees at that level to build up. Dental assistants, there's dentists everywhere, right? So you find the right match. We have one that fortunately will come and talk to our students about what it is to be in a dental office and is looking for our job shadowing opportunities, mentorship opportunities, and then have actually hired. And then paralegal, there's just a couple of samples of where they've found work. So this roadmap down here, we have this big, huge mural on our wall, and it's magnet. So as students go through, I didn't take the picture because you wouldn't be able to see it. This is like from when we ordered it. So as people go through, there's an education journey and a career journey, and they have a little magnet, and they'll have one on this journey, and they'll have one on this journey. And it's really cool when it's all full. And so this is how they can kind of picture from beginning to end, but none of this, oh, my face is in the way. I want to move my face. You can't see the picture. I don't have a mouse. I don't know how to move it without a mouse. Ted, how do I move my face? Move me, get rid of me. Basically, it says that you can't do all of this without making sure you've hired career navigators, registration coordinators, counselors. You have to have those other pieces. It's too much for your teacher and you as an administrator. They're doing it. They're small. They got to grow because they're going to burn out. I'm sorry. You will burn out your strong staff if you don't find those other people, but it's different. They'll talk about rural's different than urban. We have 600 students. They don't have 600 students. That's a big difference. So we have a college and career lab, and we have a career navigator that coordinates that lab. And then we actually have parapros in there to help them with their resumes and their cover letters. They actually run a career gateway class I'm going to talk about later that is our workforce preparation piece. You really need to have those support, you know, the holistic wraparound services. They work with the Michigan Works, which is the American Job Centers in Michigan. You really need those pieces if you want this to work. Depending on your population, ours being largely ESL, they need so much extra hand-holding. And I don't mean that in a negative way. They're in a new community. It's a new language. The language barrier is the hardest part. These are educated people, and they get looked at like you have to talk to them like they're in elementary. Their brains are phenomenal. Like they have all this education, they have all this work experience. They've had trauma they've had to fight through. I mean, their skills are amazing. They just need this literacy piece and help with how it looks like to get hired in America. It's very different than their countries. And that's a big thing we learned through the years is that, wow, how they even have to go and do a cover letter. They're used to just walking in and talking to someone and trying to shake their hand and barter a deal, and that's done. Very different in America. So they really need a lot of help just comprehending what it is, let alone going through all the paperwork. So that group is highly important. Yes, they'll be in that. She asked if there'll be the slide. The slides will be in the Hoover app. Oh, yep.
Human resource cert.
Oh, I think we have like 8 this year. It's pretty high in our area. Okay, so our career navigator was in HR, so she's tied strongly into HR. So she has a lot of connections now that she's made. She goes, there's a Michigan HR conference. She goes to it and she networks. So you have to have the ability to have people to go and do things like that. It's through Shroom, which is an online, and we're fortunate because she knew a lot about it already. So that's one, and looking at our population, that's one that they come that they want to do because they have that business background, and it's a way for them to get into like the business, back to business. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. You mentioned that you have a lot of ESL students who are on spousal visas. Are they eligible to work?
Yes, they have to be eligible to work to be in our IET program.
Okay, because we have a large ESL population and many of them are not eligible to work. Their spousal visas don't allow it.
Right.
So we're struggling with how do we
So if they're
contextualize
working-
education for people who can't work?
Right. If they're working toward getting a new visa, our American Job Centers can't pay for their training if they're eligible to work. Some of our other IET funding we have, you can still support them as long as like we choose to make sure they're on the path to it, because otherwise that money's not being spent on people that can get a job.
Right.
So it's for, in your case, it would be more working like with immigration lawyers and that, and just seeing if there's a way to get them transitioned. I don't know that this is going to be the year for that, but they want people that are going to work. So it's really hard to use this path for those that can't work.
Exactly. And that we have people, immigrants who are already retired, or we have people who are
Yeah, we would have,
disabled and can't work. We were really struggling with finding the population who can benefit from an IET.
so we would welcome them into our adult education program and into our workforce preparation. We would not place someone like that in an IET.
Right. One more quick question. Your career navigator and your student success advisors,
advisor.
your staff people?
Yes.
Funded through your
Yes.
grants or
Yes.
whatever funding
Yes.
source. Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I'll talk about the grant funding we have and one of the next slides. Yes. And again, we have a large population of students, so we do get more funding probably than Whitney gets right now. So that opens up more doors to more staff. And it's just finding the right people. Oh, we got another question.
About your parapros, are those employed by you or the K-12 system?
Us. So adult education is not through K-12. We get state funding through the K-12 State Aid Act, but some of our funding is also WIOA. So we get funding through the MDE's State Aid Act, School Aid Act, School Aid Act, but we are not run under K-12. We're actually run through LEO, the Labor Economic Opportunities. So some of our money comes from K-12, and some of the requirements for what we teach comes through MDE, Michigan Department of Education, but we're managed through the workforce, the state workforce office. So it's kind of wonky. It makes it tricky.
It makes it very interesting.
Yeah, and the adult ed funds in that School Aid Act, which hopefully doesn't get touched with the K-12 cuts that may come, that's our fear, is just for adult ed only. Like right now, K-12 can't use it for K-12. So our fiscal agent is our school district, but it's separate funding, separate grant just for us. Oh, there's another question.
So it says this is offered through your continuing education, so you're connected to a college.
No.
But you have a seat. That's
Troy
what I wanted
Continuing
to know.
Education is
Okay.
the adult education program within Troy School District.
Gotcha.
We are
Okay.
not part of college. Our funding in Michigan doesn't come through the college. Now,
Okay,
you
yeah,
can
yes.
partner with the college for some of these trainings.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We have not had success with that yet, but you can. We
I
have
got it.
different vendors I'll share later.
Okay, yeah, because we are at a college and we have a continuing education department. And so
Right, so that's more like,
okay.
usually within there, it's enrichment and like, they can do these, they can pay for specific credentials through your college. Yeah, it's,
Kind of, yeah, it's something like that.
yeah.
All
If
right.
it's like our Oakland University's enrichment program, yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, so this is kind of our plan for the adult education and workforce prep. We try to get them started in the summer. So we do our orientations, we're doing them right now for next year. So in February and March, they're applying to be a part of our IET for the next year. Because we have an ESL program, ours are year-long programs because it takes them so long to prep for the exam and get that vocabulary and that language and all of these pieces. So we're already doing orientations and interviewing students for this process. We can't confirm everybody yet because we don't know our funding yet. And we're waiting for our American Job Centers. I have to keep looking at you for that because I would have said Michigan Works and you wouldn't maybe know what that was, to verify what funding they have to support it. So we go through the interview process, we get it down to our top candidates, and then we have the waiting group in case we get more funding, and then let the others know that maybe they have to wait a year. So in the summer, we'll have them do Technomedia and LearnKey, and they have specific workshop Wednesdays in the College and Career Lab through the summer, where they'll focus on specific workforce soft skill preparations in the summer. So they're already starting July 1. Career Gateway is the class I referenced earlier. This is our workforce preparation tool that our staff has created. It is phenomenal. They come in, and we're actually getting it flipped. I'll talk about that in a minute too, to online. They come in, they get a badge, they check in like they're at work. It's like pretending to go to work, and their work projects are cover letters, resumes, all the things they need to do to be prepared to get that job. They're doing as their work. So they get attendance, it tells them how much like they would have got on a paycheck and how much they would have lost if they were late. They see charts of their attendance rates and how they've improved or declined. It's really hitting all those soft skill areas they need, along with at the same time prepping them for those interviews and those resumes and those cover letters and mock interviews. And then business communications is another tool we have that is more doing all of the computer, how to use it's digital literacy basically, how to do customer service, team collaboration, presentations, business communication basics, keyboarding, all of that is in our business communication class. And both of those, we are right now in the middle of flipping them to an online LMS so that they can do them at home or wherever to be more flexible than just in person, and so we can support more students at once because we won't have just the 20, 25 in the classroom at a time. And then they will earn badges. And how many of you are familiar with badging? So we're getting into badges now, which is awesome because it's a virtual badge that will be on their LinkedIn or their resume if they send electronically, and the employer can click on it and see everything about what was in that class that they learned. So that's the advantage. We have to get them in the LMS to do the badge. We can't just offer the class and then give them a badge. It has to be in this online LMS to do the badging. So that's our next step that we're doing literally right now. So it should be ready next year. Then we have we have 3 different sections of classes we do for the adult education portion. We have traditional ESL classes. So depending on which cohort they're in, they might be able to attend our traditional ESL 2 days a week. And then they have a specific 1 day a week cohort of ESL that's specific to that career. Some of them, we can't put them in the traditional ESL because they have to be in the allied health for English or the business English. So they're sorted by group. So like more of the medical are in the allied health English, and then the business are in the business English. We had to create these new sections because in our state this year, surprisingly, they changed the format we could teach our students in IET. We're used to differentiated instruction. We're used to taking students at any level and working around it in one cohort. So we would have ABE, ESL, and ASE all in one class and differentiate the instruction based on the career cohort they were doing. and our ESL students were passing these tests. It was phenomenal. And you know, that mentor-mentee relationship, all of that, there's so many advantages to differentiated instruction and cost effectiveness, because then you need one teacher, not three, for each cohort. This year, they decided that we can't do that. You have to have separate cohorts for every level. So if we have an ESL group, an ABE group, and an ASE group, and they have to have separate levels of workbooks or software that show that it's for elementary, it's for middle school, it's for high school, which is the opposite of every adult education thing we've ever done, right? We always have differentiated in our classes and in our labs, because everyone who comes to you is a different skill set at a different level. Even in high school, your 9th grade English student is not always at a 9th grade English level. They might be at 3rd grade English level. So this was a huge transition for us this year, that we had to create these 3 different options and add staff and find staff last minute and create the curriculum for that. So I'm curious, in your states, can you have multi-levels in the same adult education class, or do you have to split them out like this now? Yes. Oh, yeah.
Why did the state decide to make that decision?
We're not sure. We sent them a lot of research about how differentiated instruction is good and having multi-levels together is good. And they said they're standing by that they understand that there are differences in opinions on it, but they're standing by their decision. So we had to revamp and can you talk to our state? Can you send me a letter? No, I'm just kidding. So I don't want to go too far into venting. We had a very rough year in Michigan. They changed a lot in October after we start in July. So, and some people didn't even get approved till January. Oh, sorry. So here they have this money that was supposed to be for this year to train people, and it's March, and they're just how are they going to get them through in 2 months? Luckily, we got ours finally in December. But I'm like, we've been running for 6 years. Why are you stopping our progress? The 1 year we finally grew, we had to put everybody on pause. Anyway,
Just so you know, you have like 12 minutes.
okay. Okay. I'm hurrying. Okay. So basically, we had to revamp. We successfully did it. It was torture, but it's done. Hurrah. Braided funding. Michigan Works, which is our American Job Centers, supports much of our training costs. This year, they supported more than ever. Now, next year, we don't know what they're going to be able to support. So that's the pros, more funding and resources when you braid fund. The cons, less control, and you can't do anything about it. If all of a sudden they say we have half the money, then you have to do half the students. WIOA Title II, IELCE. How many of you have WIOA Title II, IELCE? That's where we can use training. We can pay for training for ESL level students, not for any other. And our teachers and our career navigators, we pay for part of them out of there. Our parapros, we pay for part of them out of there. And then in Michigan, they have a new WIOA Title II special programs grant for IET to help us be able to pay for those non-ESL students, because we weren't allowed to pay for those in WIOA Title II general. And we can't pay for them out of our state funds, our Section 107 state funding. We can't pay for training. So they just opened up a new one while they have funding, but that's not always, if they have extra, it's kind of the extra. So we don't know, and we can't count on that all the time either. And then Section 107 is the State School Aid Act that I was discussing earlier. That's where we get a lot of our funding for our basic adult education and workforce prep. We can't pay for the training piece, but we can pay for those other pieces that build the rib cage around the skeleton. I'm going to use that. All right, partnerships. Again, as Karen said, partnerships are key to success. Our educational platforms include Burlington English, Engine, Aztec, Edgenuity, and SimChart. And then our training vendors, we use Aztec, Ed2Go, Academy of Medical Professionals, Pearson Ringer, and the Shroom. Some of our nonprofit partners, they're going to be different in your area than ours, but the examples are there. I don't know if Samaritas is a Michigan or if it's a national group. They might be national. Literacy councils, Arab American Chaldean Foundation, community colleges, obviously COABE, McKay, okay. So find your local partners, because they have different funding streams and can help with different things. We have a partnership with IIMD right now to provide the citizenship classes that some of our students need, because we can no longer pay for citizenship in our WIOA money this year, in Michigan at least. Is that only a Michigan thing too? Title II? First, did it change for everybody? I was like, oh. Yeah, so then now their money is going to get restricted, and now we're not going to be able to pay for it anywhere, but I'm not going to keep going on. Employer partners, I gave examples earlier, CVS, Corewell, your local dentist. UWM is a huge, United Wholesale Mortgage is a huge company. It's kind of almost like Quicken Loans, or not Quick. Who's the Detroit guy? Is it Rocket Mortgage? They're taking a lot of, some of our HR people are going there. Some of our Java people are going there. The school district, with our childcare development associate, we kind of built that because Troy was having a problem getting those healthcare aides and those, noon aides and all those. And so they'll go into the preschools and work with their kids, voluntary, and then they'll get jobs there. Now, we've been really lucky lately that we haven't even had that much success with the district because they don't pay till they're done. They're finding a lot of childcare groups around us that are paying them to work while they're getting their CDA, and then they'll get paid more. So obviously, we're sending them where they're going to get paid. So we're trying to work on the district that, like, hey, like, give them a little less maybe until they get it. But there's so much of a need. There's such a job shortage for that right now that they need to pay them. And then, we're going to skip the poll.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna be super fast. How many people are from a rural area? Okay, so we do things very different, and I think I get less than half the money that Tammy gets. And we have, well, I cover that area that's circled. It's these two fingers. If you're in Michigan, it's right here. We do everything on the hands. We have 8 counties that I manage. I have 17 locations, 11 labs, 5 jail programs, and a rehab center that we run adult ed in. We have roughly about 400 students a year. About 60 of them are ESL, but our ESL students are mainly those dependent spouses that can't work either. So we don't get a lot of ESL in our IET programs. We do a lot more with the GED, adult secondary ed, and adult basic ed. Our area is about the size of Massachusetts, so we do things different. We talked about working with partners. Mandy talked about the plans. I'm going to go through some of the trainings that we've done and tell you how we've done each one. So last year we had these graduates from a utility arborist program that is very unique at our community college in Alpena, which is in a rural, small area. They've since changed it to a 2-semester training program. It was 15 weeks. So Mandy wrote that plan week by week to go through. They ended up with all of these credentials. And the key to that was an instructor who had a huge heart, honestly. And then Mandy was embedded in with them. So Tammy had all of those people, the career navigator and the HR teacher, and we have our adult ed teachers. And then I hired Mandy a year and a half ago as the special initiatives coordinator, was the job title that I made up for her. And I found her because we work together in the American Jobs Center. I co-locate there. And she told me about her degree in workforce curriculum. And I'm like, why aren't you working for me? So she came over, she started writing IET programs. It's the first ones that we had. And then she was also the mentor in the program. She was the career navigator. She wrote the program because in a rural area, you do everything. Yeah, I mean, really. So these students, one of them started with us in the Alpena County Jail in our jail program, got out of jail and continued working on his GED. He actually finished with high set, and he was making $11 an hour when he got out of jail, working I think 60 hours a week. And the teacher, the one in the dress on the side, she was like, "Oh, you're cutting wood at your grandparents' house. That's nice. You like working with wood? You might like this program." And he's like, "Okay." And he did it, and now he's making like $25 an hour, and he got a huge bonus at Christmas. So these short-term trainings lead to more money than my staff makes. We also have a nurse assistant program. This is a 6-week, so it's a lot quicker. And these 2 programs are happening at the community college. So there are very small cohorts. We've had like 1 or 2 students at a time. This program, they can have up to 6 students. So sometimes we'll fill it with the 6 students. And again, Mandy is doing the hand holding through the class. She also wrote the program. We just got approval for a residential builder license. This is also through the same college, but it's very cool because it's online and it's asynchronous. So you can have one student, you can have them go through as a cohort, and it's going to be our first program in the jail. So we did get some Origin tablets. Who has jail programs? Anyone? Okay, so I came to COAB last year, and my teacher here, Nicole, she's a rock star. And she wanted to get some technology in the jail, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see if that happens. And we started the conversation, and we started looking for tablets, and we're like, what is there? Like, we searched for months. I came to COAB last year and found these Origin tablets. I don't know if you guys have talked to them. They're amazing, and they have a lot of extra programming on them. The master plan is just kind of like a mind shift for if you're in the jail to change your mindset and get healthy for when you get out. There's so much. There's a whole library. There's a ton, and they have. Yeah, and they have built-in workforce programming. So some of our students have done the HVAC program. We haven't even written an IET for it yet. They're going through it on the tablet. So we're planning to catch up with our students and write IET so that it can be approved by our state, and we'll count those credentials. But they are going through those in the jails. We also have a pre-apprenticeship. Our largest employer in our small town with 2 stoplights is Coletta Air. They are a worldwide company, and in our small town, they do the maintenance. So our American Jobs Center has an existing apprenticeship, and we tagged along and created a pre-apprenticeship. In our state, it's called the Michigan Apprenticeship Readiness Certificate. And we are working on turning that into an IET program. But this was our first graduate of the pre-apprenticeship, and he's now in the apprenticeship. And again, he finished his GED with us. That was part of the mark. He started the pre-apprenticeship at $17 an hour. He'll go through, it's about 2.5 years, and he'll come out making $26 an hour. If he works in a different shift, like the night shift or whatever, he'll make like 30. So we're finding great jobs with these short-term programs or apprenticeships. We are also working with a bunch of manufacturing companies in our area. Because we're rural and spread out, we're like, what IET program can fit for multiple industries? Because we only get a couple in each of our 8 counties. So we were looking for a program that would fit each county. So Mandy is working on that now. We're working with the Michigan Manufacturing Association, the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, working very closely with our American Jobs Center and their apprenticeship specialist, so that they can create the apprenticeships. We can be like the feeder into their program. Any questions? I'm trying to go really fast. Is
Technically,
it my overtime?
You're overtime already.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Anybody have questions? Okay, yeah.
So you said that you'll have, for your pre-apprenticeship, you do a Michigan Apprenticeship Readiness Certificate.
Yeah.
How is that developed and who's your backing body
Okay.
or whatever?
So that was in Leo, the labor department. It was not part of the adult ed office. It's through the apprenticeship office. And Karen and I, our programs were actually part of the pilot for that. So we kind of created it like as it was launching. What's it? Okay.
I think all 3 of us were mentioned in the same article.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. You should maybe send it to me.
I will.
Will you take a picture of this and send it to me? Yeah, I'd love to see the article. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Tammy has some more plans if you want one. Online, thank you for coming.